Hello everybody. Welcome back for another video. Hope you're all doing well. Hope you're all doing great. And that you're all having a great day. Don't forget to follow me on Twitter. There's a link in the description below. And without any further ado, let's jump right into it. This is major news, very popular news. You will understand immediately why. A lot of this is like leftover residue hype. I know residue makes it sound negative, but you'll understand exactly what I'm talking about. Grayscale is trying to get one of their cryptocurrency funds converted into a spot ETF. Why? Basically because people for some reason care about the letters ETF. That's not a joke. All of their funds that they currently have are basically ETFs except for the form of classification by the US SEC. The entire reason why we even have Bitcoin, and I guess to a smaller extent, Ethereum ETFs, is because of Grayscale. Grayscale, since around 2015, 16, 17, around that time frame, was trying to get a Bitcoin ETF, like a spot Bitcoin ETF, to go through. The SEC kept on saying no, so then Grayscale sued them. And Grayscale won the lawsuit because there was no legal reason why the SEC should have said no. And basically, people think that that might have opened up the floodgates and or allowed for like a drip to come through. Analysts, yada yada. On the 14th of October, crypto asset manager Grayscale applied with the US SEC to convert their multi-crypto fund into an ETF. You might have remembered sometime in the summer, about 3 companies came forward and they announced that they have applied with the SEC to make a Bitcoin and Ethereum ETF. The idea being, we have Bitcoin, we have Ethereum ETFs. Therefore, a one that mixes the two should be perfectly fine. But now the sharks and the whales and every other animal, they're all circling. Why? Because there are a multitude of other altcoins. And the idea is, if the Bitcoin ETF did that to Bitcoin's price, what could it do for the other altcoins as well? Grayscale has a lot of different funds for different altcoins, and therefore money. Currently, the firm's Digital Large Cap GDLC fund has $500 million in assets under management. It includes Bitcoin, Ethereum, Solana, XRP, and Avalanche. Bitcoin and Ethereum are dominating, as they are over 90% of the fund. This is quite typical for funds in general. A lot of people years ago, I don't understand why, were quite upset when any company announced, we have Bitcoin, we have Ether, we have Litecoin, we have XRP, we have Tron, we have Cardano. And they found out over and over that Bitcoin and Ethereum were typically 90 to 95% of the assets being held. Usually Bitcoin's around 70%, Ether's usually around 20%, and then the other coins kind of make up 1 or 2% respectively. And people were like, why isn't XRP at 35%? Why isn't Solana? And it's like, you should be happy that you're included in general. Like, that's not even half of a joke. Think of how many other coins there are out there. The fact that this is even part of the fund at all is like a nice silver lining for the asset that you are holding. If approved, the fund would be traded on the New York Stock Exchange per the filing. In a separate filing, The asset manager notified its investors of the proposed rule changes to the fund, and here's the actual filing for it right here, Form 8K with the US SEC. You might have realized if you looked right, wait, where is it? Right here. It says analysts warn of challenges because of XRP, Solana, and Avalanche inclusion. As of right now, and probably until the end of time, the only coins officially that have been given the nod by the SEC to not be securities and or not under their jurisdiction and or that they're not trying to control explicitly are Bitcoin and Ethereum. While Ripple won a portion of that lawsuit, and XRP was deemed not a security by the court, the issue is that regulators tend to often be quite corrupt. So the idea is that the SEC might put a no or a slowdown to this conversion because of Solana and because of Avalanche as well, which are explicitly deemed by the SEC to be securities. If you just sucked your teeth or threw your arms into the air with confusion, you weren't here over spring and also in summer and also in last winter and the year before that, where the SEC said every coin, with the exception of Bitcoin, they deem to be a security. This is, of course, absolute nonsense, as the coins themselves should not be securities, but any other product built on top of them. However, that's where we currently stand. There was an issue sometime in the summer where we had two companies who announced that they were going to try to file for Solana ETFs. And those were shut down immediately within like around 2 weeks. They had no response from the SEC, and both of them dropped the idea of trying to even push it forward. And that's, I'm going to try and be nice, but that's because Solana is... So, yeah, a lot of companies are trying to do this around the world. Other places, there seems to be no issue. If you've been keeping up with the news, Canada, Germany, I want to say Singapore and Hong Kong, you name it. Maybe even Australia. They already all have multi-crypto ETFs. It's just once again the US SEC that seems to be taking their time. Yeah. That's the Grayscale is trying to get another ETF through. It will be interesting simply because if they get a rejection, they're probably going to try and sue the SEC again. They would probably win and then actually get this to go through. But that would be like a year and a half process. So let's see what the future holds. That's the Grayscale news. And yeah. Let's move on. Also in popular news, and I don't really get why, Kraken, the cryptocurrency exchange. I heard someone call this Kraken before. I've heard actual several people pronounce the crypto exchange Kraken as Kraken. And if English is like your second or third language, got it. If you grew up as a child watching cartoons, especially in the States, and you don't know the word Kraken, it's like a gigantic squid. It's what Ursula is supposed to be at the end of Little Mermaid, where she's like destroying everything. Like she's a Kraken. Just I had to throw that out there because I keep meeting people and they ask me which crypto exchange. I've heard about Kraken. Is it good? And I'm like, what? It's like when Ethereum the first 2 years. And I heard people call it Ethereum, and I was like, sound it out, like just okay. Kraken will be delisting Monero in the European Economic Area, or the EEA, halting all Monero trading and deposits due to regulatory changes. A number of years ago, people created coins when they figured out that Bitcoin was not private and did not have private transactions, and that Bitcoin's transactions are traceable. People created Dash, Monero, and Zcash, otherwise known as Zcash, which also terrible marketing name, and also no one really uses it. The idea was these coins have private transactions. People can do what they want, when they want, how they want, when they want, but don't want, all the time with these coins. And guess who doesn't care for that? Governments. So over the years, governments have told crypto exchanges to like delist these coins, or you can't use these coins, or whatever the case might be. And now Monero's also on this list as well. I think this made news because it is a legacy coin. It's been around for nearly a decade. But I think no one should be surprised. Anything that gives like proper private transactions is going to be an issue for governments who like to see and know everything. That was the discussion when Litecoin got private transactions. For those of you who don't know that, there's like a switch. You can turn on like completely private transactions for Litecoin. But if you turn on that switch, you cannot deposit your coins onto a crypto exchange. That's, you know, that's the trade-off. US-based crypto exchange Kraken will be delisting Monero in the European Economic Area following regulatory shifts. In a blog announcement, Kraken said that trading and depositing for Monero, including Monero to US dollar and the euro, will stop on Halloween. For clients registered in the EEA, open orders will automatically close at the same time. They've set a deadline for the 31st of December for taking your Monero off of the exchanges, adding that any Monero left on exchanges will be converted to Bitcoin at market rates, with distributions finalized by the 6th of January of next year. Whenever a coin is delisted or taken off or trading pairs are stopped, people using those platforms are always told or warned to take their coins off, to hold it themselves. If not, it will usually be swapped into a stable coin and or into Bitcoin. This has been happening for a very long time across the board for a lot of these coins. No one really uses them per se. People do use them, but these are people who are trying to use money without anyone else knowing. So those coins will forever have a space in the world. Like probably these coins will exist forever, but as far as like investing in them, that's basically a complete no-no. Yeah, that's the Kraken delisting Monero. And yeah, moving along. Also in very popular news, because people are always, Robinhood is set to launch Bitcoin and Ethereum futures contracts alongside traditional assets such as oil and the S&P 500. Back in good old 2017, the good old days, people were quite excited about Bitcoin and Ethereum futures. Namely because we were told by Coinbase and the Winklevoss twins and everyone else that futures were basically like the new way for us to gain more exposure to the world, or for them to have exposure to crypto, if you will. The problem is that futures, especially those launched in 2017, were actually meant to dismantle the cryptocurrency space. And it's the reason why Bitcoin's price fell in 2017 and 2018. We've gone over it before. You can find the article where the former head of the CFTC said the only reason why he was told to allow Bitcoin futures to go through was to make sure that Bitcoin's price did not go any higher, because they were afraid that people would lose extra hope or more hope or whatever for the US dollar. Futures contracts, 99% of the time within crypto, are denominated in US dollars or euro or yen. They do not touch the actual crypto themselves. So futures contracts are actually only used to negatively manipulate the price of cryptocurrencies. That's why you don't see much fanfare for them anymore. Also, nearly every major futures cryptocurrency platform doesn't see much play anymore. People don't really care for them, except for people who are constantly trying to short the prices of these assets. This, of course, made popular news because of the name Robinhood. Anytime anything with Robinhood happens or pops into the news, it becomes very popular. I don't know how people are so easily brainwashed, but that's for another video. The new offerings expected in the coming months include micro Bitcoin and micro Ethereum futures. The idea is that most people are not interested in futures contracts. They don't want them. They don't care for them. And any real cryptocurrency investors tend to buy the coin spot, like from Coinbase, from Kraken, to hold the actual asset themselves. And institutions who want access to these coins tend to do it through ETFs for taxation reasons. So a number of companies beginning this year began to launch micro futures, which are basically like smaller fragmented contracts that make it easier or more price-worthy for retail investors to try to want to have access to them. That's the idea. If bigger players don't want them, then gosh darn it, we'll try and load this all off on retail. It says they're designed for smaller investors, wink. The announcement was made at Robinhood's Hood Summit, that sounds dangerous, where the company also unveiled its desktop platform called Robinhood Legend. They didn't have a desktop platform? Is this 1992? They didn't have a website, like an actual... With low fees and advanced tools, Robinhood aims to compete with brokers such as Charles Schwab and E-Trade. I'm sure they do. This made very popular news because the word Robinhood was there. You think I'm joking? Nope. For some reason, people in the US love Robinhood. Even though the entire GameStop fiasco and them halting trading for cryptocurrencies and not actually previously holding cryptocurrencies. I guess people forget very easily when a platform has done terrible things to them. But cool. These will launch. I give it by... I mean, well, actually, no. Like, if we're going to be pumping into a bull market, these will be used. But December 2025, these will also have low volume again. No one wants futures. People are looking for different forms of derivatives, things derived from the actual asset to launch. And most people want to launch ETFs or some kind of a fund, but they're, you know, still a little bit difficult to do. So everyone runs to futures. And yeah, that's the Robinhood, Bitcoin, and Ethereum micro futures news. And yeah, let's move on. Also in, well, yeah, crypto exchange Gemini has announced its exit from the Canadian market. I'm not sure why. If you can give me a proper answer, that'd be great. Over the course of the last 6 years, I'll say 6 years, for some reason, the UK and Canada are like holding hands and skipping down the street with whatever the US does for crypto. I haven't really figured out exactly why. You might remember back in 2018 when the UK banned advertisements online, on buses, and on trains for anything crypto. There were discussions, but of course it was never going to happen, to actually ban crypto. There were discussions to raise taxes. I'm not sure if I don't keep track with UK crypto tax laws. I don't know what the tax rate actually is, but for some reason, Canada and the UK have made sure to be as unfriendly as digitally possible to cryptocurrencies, cryptocurrency companies, and anything else looking to deal with crypto within their borders. The confusion from me comes from, I mean, maybe it's because I am not in control of a country, question mark. It's more of a, if I saw my next door neighbor pass up on billions of dollars, and then the other friendly neighbor also didn't want it either, I'm pretty sure I'd open my door and I would say, right this way, gentlemen. All the money that the US SEC and the US has made sure that they didn't make from the cryptocurrency market in the last 10 years, you would have assumed that Canada would have said yes, as would have the UK. But nope, it's been Germany, it's been Portugal, it's been Singapore. There was also some other news recently about Italy raising their cryptocurrency taxes. And I'll say this in the nicest way. I don't think 90% of you, 95% of you even live in Italy. For those of you who missed it, I think there are proposals to raise the tax on crypto if you sell, I think from 23 to 42%. And there were a lot of people on Twitter, and it was so cringe. People were like, this is basically a ban on Bitcoin. It's so unfair. And I was like, you don't live there. Like, there are other places that have like 50, 60% taxes when you sell an asset. Why did you get upset with Italy? I'm not really, for those of you who also don't know, the European Union, you can just move somewhere else. You know, people in Italy can like legally move to Portugal or to Germany or to anywhere else and pay 0% taxes on their crypto. That's like hearing that like South Africa has a higher tax and you like, why are you, other countries aren't going to always like do what's correct or great for their economy or their people, like history. And I mean, even more so, I think a lot of people don't really know or haven't gotten the gist of how bad Italy's economy, Italy, Greece, and Spain, how bad their economies actually are. You can argue with me till the dogs come home. Their economies are terrible and have been for a very long time, and it's because of hyper mismanagement. And I'm even more than, you know, and it comes from every single direction. So when you hear that someone's raising the taxes, you just go somewhere else that has lower taxes. And I mean that like not from the standpoint of like pinky in the air, like, you know, like just move somewhere else. Like there was a thing. There's a video of this girl on Instagram. She was like, wait, I don't understand. She's like, people who don't have homes, like, why don't you go just buy one? Like, you know, get it. Ha ha ha, satirical. But I mean, from like an actual standpoint, if you have that much in crypto, like think about who this is affecting. This isn't affecting your grandfather who has $35 in Bitcoin. This would affect people who have like several $100,000. At that point, Italy touches Germany. For those of you who don't know how maps look like, you would literally just go north, you would register there, and then you would sell your crypto whenever you deemed fit. I'm not like it's legally done this way. Like this is how. Right. So back on track here. Gemini has announced that they're leaving the Canadian market. And that's because Canada has been incredibly unfriendly to just about every single cryptocurrency exchange out there. I think Binance left a while ago. We had Kraken. I think Kraken has had to leave nearly everywhere in North America, I think, except for Mexico. But yeah, Gemini, and once again, for those of you who don't know Gemini, it's run by the Winklevoss twins. They are and have been since 2014, like the THEE, like the ring kissers of the space. Like they only follow rules and regulations. You know how like you might, you know, have a little question mark for some other crypto exchanges, like, oh, maybe they didn't follow the rules. The Gemini twins only follow the rules. So when they got in trouble earlier this year by the SEC, I was like, okay, this means that BlackRock or Fidelity, they're going to try and launch their own crypto exchange, and they're trying to get some of the other bigger players out. When Gemini has to leave a country, it's because that country's rules are backwards. If you've been following this market, Gemini is like the rule follower. Gemini is leaving Canada, joining several other platforms that have left due to the country's strict regulatory environment. Canadian customers of the Winklevoss-founded exchange reported receiving an email urging them to withdraw their funds by the very last day of this year, giving them 90 days to move their assets. And then someone wrote a tweet. Well, Gemini is officially closing all customer accounts in Canada. It won't affect me as I'm a huge fan of, I don't even know what that is. I'm not going to say that out loud. But I'm curious to what limited exceptions means. Hi there, effective so-and-so. As a result, we're closing your account. 90 days to remove your assets. Please withdraw your assets as Gemini will close your account. Prior to the 31st of December, please take the following actions or below actions. Yeah. I would say that I'm surprised, but I'm not actually surprised. The cryptocurrency regulatory landscape has been this way for a very long time. And how do I say this? All the things that keep happening in a handful of countries around the world, I always wonder why people don't take more action against things like this. For instance, when we heard that Binance got in trouble within the US, and then Binance US also got in trouble within the US, and then Coinbase got in trouble within the US, and then Kraken got in trouble within the US, and then Gemini got in trouble by the SEC within the US, and then Changpeng Zhao got earlier this year. You know how, like, I wonder why people don't, like, write strongly worded letters to, like, administrations or to regulators, or and I mean this in, like, all honesty, because you're usually, like, what's the word? Encouraged to do so. If you have any questions or any things to say, you know, please write us a letter, write us an email. I feel like there's constantly such a gigantic wave of, and I'm going to choose the word injustice. I can't figure out what other word to put there. I wouldn't necessarily say a crypto exchange closing is an injustice, if you understand. But it's more of a, I wonder why people let these things happen and don't simply, like, let their voices be heard more. That's a nice way of saying it. Like a democratic means. If something means something to you, why not fight for it? The regulators are clearly making mistakes and or doing things that are illegal. We will never know the entire gist as we are not regulators and not sitting in those offices. But I sit here sometimes and I hear news about what's happening in a handful of places around the world. And I go, well, that's not dandy. That's not swell at all. That's actually kind of weird. And it's a little odd that people don't exercise their democratic rights to, you know, push back and say, like, hey, this is wrong. Why did this, like, I feel like if, like, 7,000 people wrote emails, like if you lived in Canada and you were using Gemini or Kraken or Binance or Coinbase, and you wrote a letter to, like, to your SEC or to regulators, they would probably rethink it. But so many people kind of hear bad news and they go, okay, well, pack up your bags. We got to go again. And it's like, then yeah. I said that correctly. This is how I always feel. It's kind of like years ago with the entire SEC thing. We even heard, for those of you who missed it recently, 2 members of the SEC, I was telling you a couple days ago, 2 members of the SEC came forward and basically were like, yeah, we handled a lot of stuff really bad with crypto. It's like hearing, like, a gangster or, like, a mob boss kind of, like, say that they did something wrong, and then people go, well, at least he admitted it, as opposed to bringing him to justice. You heard these people say that they did so. Remember, last point. Remember when we heard, this was maybe about a year ago, the SEC was launching dozens of lawsuits against multiple cryptocurrency companies. And then we had, oh gosh, what was the news? We had news that one of the lawsuits, multiple lawsuits were thrown away, but there was one in the news where the judge looked through the evidence filed by the SEC, and she was like, no, this is all a lie. And she found out that all the lawyers had fabricated evidence. This is, I want to say sometime last year. She threw the entire court case out. And then I think the 3 lawyers, I think, were disbarred or like stepped down. And then someone came forward and they were like, oh, we didn't mean to tamper with evidence and lie. And I was like, no one heard them? You keep hearing these people tell you lies all the time and you just go, well, maybe the next one will be better. It's like the guy before Gary Gensler was also a monster. People keep thinking, come November, we're going to have a new SEC. No, what do you think these people are put into power for? You think the next one's going to be nice and friendly? Anywho, I think that's going to do it for this video. At least some countries continue to know how to make money, because other places, they're just not getting it, like, at all. Like, why would I even think of doing business in Canada if that was the case? If I launch something and I don't produce the right paperwork or talk to the right person or slide some money across a table, my company might get closed. I've lost a huge amount of money and investment in opening up there. Might as well just go to Portugal or Germany or Switzerland or to Brazil or to Singapore or Hong Kong. I do hope that you've all enjoyed. I do hope that you all are having a great day, morning, afternoon, evening, wherever you are, wherever the heck you might be. I do hope it's absolutely fantastic. Thank you all once again for watching, listening, liking, commenting, and supporting. And I will most certainly be talking to you all soon. See you.